What a day to be a Celtic fan, honestly. You could feel it in the air before the match even started, that electric buzz that only comes around when it's Rangers on the other side of the pitch. The green and white were everywhere, flags flying, songs echoing, voices hoarse before a single ball had even been kicked. And then, when the whistle went, Celtic didn't just play. They attacked, they fought, they pressed like their lives depended on it. This wasn't just another derby. This was Celtic rediscovering what it means to be Celtic. 3-1, a scoreline that says a lot, but still doesn't tell the whole story of what we just witnessed. From the very first minute, you could see something different. The energy was there, the belief was there, and every player on that pitch looked like they had a point to prove. It's amazing how quickly things can change when the right voices are in the dressing room, when players start believing again. You could sense it. Every challenge, every interception, every run, it all had intent. Celtic weren't just reacting to Rangers, they were dictating every moment. The pace, the aggression, the hunger, it was everything fans have been crying out for in these derby matches. And the first half, oh man, that first half was exactly how you want your team to play against your biggest rivals. Celtic pressed high, won the second balls, and moved forward with purpose. It wasn't just pretty passing, it was direct, sharp, relentless football. The center backs, especially Trusty and Scales, stepped up with confidence. At times, they carried the ball forward themselves, breaking lines, dragging the team higher up the pitch. That's what you want to see. Defenders who don't just sit back, but take responsibility and push the game on. What really stood out, though, was the fire. You could see it in Dyson Maeda. This is a player people were saying might be out the door, someone who's usually quiet and composed, but not today. Today, he was on fire. You saw that moment when Asgard went flying in on Ralston, an absolutely reckless challenge, and Maeda's reaction said everything. He wasn't having it. He stepped in, defended his teammate, and showed that spark we've been missing. That's what it means to fight for the badge. Even Callum McGregor, who's seen it all, was roaring his teammates on like a man possessed. Every tackle, every 50-50, Celtic were there first. And honestly, Rangers didn't know how to handle it. You could see the nerves from early on, especially in their backline. Their center back completely miscontrolled the ball in the opening minutes, almost gifting Celtic a chance, and from that point you could tell they were rattled. The Celtic press made them panic. They couldn't build from the back, their passes were rushed, their rhythm was gone. The Celtic fans in the stands picked up on it too. You could feel that shift of energy. For once, it wasn't us hoping for a mistake. We were forcing them into mistakes. It's crazy how much of this comes down to attitude. You can talk tactics all day, but sometimes it's just about desire, about who wants it more. And Celtic wanted it more, simple as that. The players were running through walls for each other. Ralston, who everyone knows isn't the flashiest, put in a shift like no other. Johnny Kenny worked his socks off. Sarah, I really like him, just battled and battled. You could see the togetherness that's been missing. And credit where it's due, Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney have come in and given this squad a new lease of life. The same players who looked tired and drained under Brendan Rodgers suddenly look free again. It's not that Rodgers was a bad manager. He's a top coach, but things had gone stale. The energy was gone. Sometimes a club just needs new voices, a fresh start, and you can see the difference already. The players are smiling, they're fighting, and the fans can feel it. Maeda, in particular, deserves a huge mention. That was his best performance of the year, no question. His pressing, his movement, his effort, it set the tone. He was constantly forcing Rangers' defense into errors. They tried to play out from the back, but every time, Maeda was there, nipping at their heels, forcing them into overhit passes, underhit passes, bad touches, you name it. That energy is contagious. When one player presses like that, the rest follow. And that's how you build momentum in games like this. And let's not forget Tanky on the left. He was brilliant, a real handful. Rangers had to double-team him just to slow him down, and even then, he was creating space for others. That's when you know a winger's having a game. When the other team starts panicking every time he touches the ball. Engels, too, deserves credit. His deliveries were on point, dangerous every time, and one of them led directly to Johnny Kenny's goal from the corner. Simple football, executed perfectly. Callum McGregor looked reborn out there. He was leading by example, snapping into tackles, playing with an energy we haven't seen since that Bayern match years ago. It's like the shackles are off, and this version of McGregor, that commanding, confident captain, is exactly what Celtic need. The word that kept coming to mind watching that match was hunger. The hunger to win, to dominate, to show who owns Glasgow. For weeks, maybe months, it's felt like we were drifting, like the team had lost its edge. But not today. Today was Celtic football in its purest form. Fast, aggressive, full of heart. Now, of course, the match wasn't without drama. There were calls, challenges, moments that could have gone either way. The disallowed goal, the Cornelius tackle on Kenny, those moments will be talked about for days. But here's the thing. Even with the chaos, even with the controversy, Celtic held their composure. They didn't let it throw them off. They just kept playing their football. The Asgard tackle on Ralston, though, that was a shocker. Studs up, reckless, dangerous. You could see from the replay, there's a split second where he could have pulled out, but he didn't. That's not about bad luck, that's about decision-making. And you can't get away with that in a derby like this. I don't care what anyone says, that's a red card every single time. You could feel the fury from the Celtic fans in the stands. It fired the team up even more. Even when the physical battles got heated, Celtic kept their cool. Trusty, who had a fantastic game overall, had that moment with Jack Butland where he caught him slightly on the head. Honestly, it looked worse in slow motion than it actually was. A yellow card was fair, but that was never a red. He was going for the ball, pure and simple. Compare that to Asgard's tackle, and it's night and day. Then there was the penalty incident with Ralston. Harsh, really harsh. What's he supposed to do there? He's diving, gets a shove, the ball hits him when his arm's tucked in. That's never deliberate. But that's football. Sometimes the decisions go your way, sometimes they don't. What mattered is how Celtic responded, and they did it perfectly. They didn't moan, didn't lose focus, they just got on with it and finished the job. And that's what separates good teams from great ones. It's not just the skill, it's the mentality. The ability to stay calm when everything's going mad around you. Celtic had that today, and that's why they came out on top. The biggest takeaway from this whole match is simple. Belief is back. The players believe again, the fans believe again, and that connection between the two, it's alive. 4. The first time in a long time, you can feel that unity, that sense of purpose. Celtic are fighting not just to win matches, but to prove who they are again. When the second half kicked off, you could sense that same fire hadn't gone anywhere. Celtic came back out with purpose, ready to finish what they started. The crowd was still buzzing, voices raw from the first 45 minutes, but nobody cared. Every fan inside that stadium knew they were witnessing something special. You could see it in the players' faces too, focused, confident, completely locked in. They wanted more. The thing that stood out to me was how organized we were even when the game opened up. Usually, in these high-intensity derbies, the tempo starts to dip or one team loses discipline. But not Celtic. Every line stayed tight. Every player knew his job. The pressing didn't stop. It just became smarter. Maeda was still chasing lost causes, McGregor still snapping into tackles, and Trusty and Scales were absolute walls at the back. There was this sense of collective belief that, no matter what Rangers tried, they wouldn't break us down. Rangers did have a spell early in the second half where they tried to push us back, throwing bodies forward, but even then, you never felt in danger. Their attacks looked desperate, rushed, forced. They weren't creating, they were just hoping for something to fall their way. Meanwhile, Celtic looked calm, even when they didn't have the ball. You could see the players communicating constantly, pointing, shouting, organizing. That's something we've been missing for a while, leaders all over the pitch. McGregor, in particular, was massive in that period. You could tell he was feeding off the energy of the fans, dictating the tempo, slowing things down when needed, and speeding it up at just the right moments. Every time Rangers looked like they might get a foothold, he'd step in, win a ball, and suddenly Celtic were on the attack again. That kind of leadership doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, but it's what separates the top captains from the rest. And what a shift from Johnny Kenny. That lad worked himself into the ground. He might not always get the headlines, but his effort, his movement, his ability to drag defenders out of position, it opened up so much space for others. You could see how uncomfortable Rangers defenders were dealing with him. He kept pulling them into awkward positions, and that's how he found gaps for the wide men. Tinky, again, was electric. Every time he picked up the ball, there was this collective anticipation that something could happen. Then came that third goal, the one that sealed it. It was a proper Celtic move, fast, precise, clinical. McGregor breaking up play in the middle, a quick exchange of passes down the flank, a cross whipped in with pace, and boom, Johnny Kenny right place, right time. The roar that followed, you could have heard it all the way down the Clyde. That was the moment the game was done. Rangers looked beaten, their heads dropped, and the Celtic players knew it. You could feel the swagger coming back into the team, that confidence that had been missing for so long. From that point on, it was all about control. Celtic didn't need to chase the game anymore. They dictated everything: possession, tempo, space. The passing was crisp, the movement was intelligent, and you could see the difference a bit of freedom makes. Players who looked afraid to take risks a few weeks ago were suddenly trying things again. Little 1-2s, flicks, bold runs. That comes from confidence. That comes from trust in the manager and in each other. And what about the fans? Absolute credit to them. From the first whistle to the last, they never stopped. The songs, the chants, the noise, it all fed into the performance. You could tell the players felt it too. Every tackle, every interception, every clearance was cheered like a goal. That's what makes Celtic Park, or any stadium full of our support, such a fortress. It's not just a football ground. It's a living, breathing force that pushes the team forward. Now, you can say Rangers didn't play well, and they didn't. But that's because Celtic didn't let them. That's what great teams do. They impose themselves. They make the opponent look ordinary. Rangers looked nervous, sluggish, unsure of themselves, and that's exactly how we wanted them. Every time they tried to build something, we were there first. It wasn't luck, it was structure, hard work, and belief. There's something poetic about how quickly this team seems to have rediscovered its identity. A week ago, there were doubts, frustrations, people wondering what direction we were heading in. Now, after back-to-back performances full of passion and purpose, it feels like the club's heartbeat is strong again. The new management team hasn't reinvented football. They've just reminded these players what it means to wear the shirt. You can see the pride again. Maeda summed it all up. Tireless, relentless, never stopped running. Even late in the second half, when everyone else looked knackered, he was still chasing, still pressing, still shouting encouragement. That's leadership in its purest form, not about the armband, but about setting the standard. And it spread. Every player followed his example. There were still a few nervy moments, as there always are in these matches. Rangers threw everything forward in the last 10 minutes, hoping for some late miracle, but Celtic just stood firm. Every header won, every clearance made, every loose ball snapped up. You could tell the players didn't just want to win, they wanted to make a statement. And they did. As the final whistle blew, the noise was unreal. Players collapsed on the pitch, drained but elated, fans screaming, waving scarves, celebrating a win that felt bigger than just 3 points or a semifinal. It felt like a turning point, a reminder of who we are. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Aaron Ramsdale has reportedly given the green light, and the rumor mill is in overdrive as whispers suggest the Arsenal keeper is set to become the new fortress between the sticks for Celtic. Fans north of the border are already buzzing, with chatter filling pubs and social feeds alike, imagining a Scottish premiership where the boys boast arguably one of the Premier League's most talked about goalkeepers. Sources close to the deal claim Ramsdale's representatives have met with Celtic officials, and the discussions are well advanced, with the 25-year-old allegedly eager for a fresh challenge and more consistent first-team football. The speculation has ignited a frenzy, as supporters dream of a backline now bolstered by Ramsdale's reputed reflexes and commanding presence. Celtic's hunt for a reliable shot stopper has been long and winding, and the potential arrival of the England international could signal a turning point for Ange Postecoglou's side ahead of next season. Rumors suggest that Arsenal, facing a crowded goalkeeping roster, may be open to letting Ramsdale depart, provided the boys meet their asking price, and insiders hint a deal could be done sooner rather than later. Meanwhile, the transfer corridors are abuzz with theory and analysis. Some pundits argue that Ramsdale's style, aggressive off his line, vocal, and quick with his feet, could transform Celtic's defensive approach entirely. Others, of course, caution that acclimatizing to Scottish football is never straightforward, and the pressure at Parkhead can be relentless. Yet the excitement is tangible. Social media has already erupted with fans speculating on jersey numbers, debut matches, and the possibility of Ramsdale leading Celtic into European nights with his trademark acrobatics. Whether it's true or just another rumor, the mere suggestion of Ramsdale in green and white has set tongues wagging across Glasgow. The Celtic faithful are desperate for a commanding presence in goal, and the thought of one of England's brightest talents donning the hoops is enough to make them believe anything is possible. Sources close to the club say negotiations are intense and could reach a conclusion in the coming weeks, leaving supporters both anxious and giddy at the prospect. If it comes off, Celtic may not just be signing a goalkeeper. They could be landing a statement of intent, a pledge that the boys are ready to reclaim dominance at home and challenge in Europe with a renewed edge. For now, though, it's all whispers and speculation. The chatter continues, with every rumble of a transfer window tweet scrutinized, every cryptic comment from agents dissected, and every glance at Ramsdale's social media posts read as potential confirmation. In Glasgow, one thing's for certain. If Ramsdale does indeed say yes, the city will wake up to a new era of hope, excitement, and endless debate. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.